It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you here, Captain Chris Cassidy.
Oh, Marty, great to be with you, man.
Navy SEAL,
Yeah.
astronaut. Man, I tell you what, this is going to be a fun interview.
Sure is. I've been looking forward to it too.
I mean, I seem to remember you went through Buds when I was there as an officer, or did you just miss me?
No, you were already at STV team.
I was already
too.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I first met you. Was STV team.
STV team too.
Yeah.
You were the ops boss. I checked in as the bull ensign.
Yeah, and I'm still shorter than you. Even today, I'm still shorter than you. So what we're going to do is, Instincts is about asking our guests that are successful, and not all of them have been successful in a linear path. A lot of them have had ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
Business people that have been bankrupt a couple of times and eventually figured out a path or learned through all those hard knocks. And the concept of gut instinct or instinct in general, which I'm really interested in, that's why the show's called that. The questions are going to kind of elicit those kinds of reactions from you, but it's just casual, and we can just talk about whatever we want to talk about, but we're going to start with young little baby Chris. What kind of influences when you were young, say before you joined the military, what influences in your life, people that influenced you, maybe an event or something that kind of formed you and shaped the person you are?
It's a good question. I small town in Maine, grew up, younger brother, 3 years younger, and we always had some kind of a ball in our hands and could make fun in any situation just by making up a game with a tennis ball or a Nerf football or whatever in a parking lot or in the lawn. So sports was always kind of a fabric of me. And then I was probably 10, 11, 12, I can't remember exactly, when figured out this concept, hey, if you do a little work for somebody, they give you money, and then with that money you can go to the movies. And started to work. And the reason I'm telling you this is I think that was part of the sports and working at an early age, I think kind of formed me. And my very first job, we lived not far from a corn farmer, and I rode my bike down there at 5 in the morning in the summers to pick corn. I was the youngest kid on there, got picked on. They greased my bike seat, all this stuff. And I remember I wanted to quit that first job, and my mom and dad said, no, just hang with it, you'll be good. And sure enough, things got better. And then I got other jobs as aged through school. But to answer your question succinctly, I would say being a part of sports teams and being and working and seeing good bosses and crummy ones kind of formed myself and my gut instincts of how I view situations.
Did anybody, or did you seek, if nobody did this indirectly or directly, did anybody try to steer you in a particular life direction, or were you like, I wanted to be a rock star, then I wanted to be an archaeologist? I mean, and nobody told me that. I just kind of flitted around during my teen years of things I thought I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Or did you always know kind of what you wanted to do?
I did not know what I wanted to do. I loved all sports, but I loved basketball the most, and I was pretty good in my small part of a small state. But then after a few summer camps and things, I realized there's no way I'm going to make a living playing basketball. So I shifted. I was going to be an NBA basketball referee. That was my goal, and I reffed in men's leagues and youth leagues all through high school. And when I got to college, I did a side hustle in the reffing games as much as I could fit it in there in my junior and senior year. And so that was kind of the path. But about junior year of high school, I also realized that somebody has to pay this thing called college that everybody talks about. Somebody's got to pay for it.
Right.
And we weren't like dirt poor, but I knew my parents couldn't afford to pay full on a college education. So I realized that some of that was going to be on me, and that's kind of what got me exploring the concept of the military, that you could have them pay for school and you do some service back to the country. And I had no idea what it meant to be in the Navy or the Air Force or the Army. I just thought you'd be in it. I didn't know you could be on a ship or a submarine or fly aircraft or be a SEAL. I didn't know any of that stuff. Particularly SEALs. It was pre-internet, before you could see Marty Strong on Fox News talking about operations in Iraq every weekend. No, but I'm serious. It was way before any of that SEAL was a household name, and you could do research on it. I didn't know. And so kind of that's what got me into exploring about the Naval Academy, which is an interesting story if you want me to share that, like how that happened.
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, so this is where it's kind of, I tell this story very often when I give public speaking, speak to public, because it really formed me, this experience is the path that set me into the Naval Academy. So you remember the guidance counselor's office, there's books strewn all across the coffee table before the internet, and you go in the guidance counselor's office and you look through these books and you try to look for the school that has the prettiest girls and the coolest buildings and just far enough away from your hometown so your parents can't come find you. And I did that, and I flipped to the picture of the Naval Academy, and I was like, cool buildings. We always watch the Army-Navy football game in my house every year. I'm like, those are guys that play football. And they're marching around in uniform, and I thought, okay, that's perfect. About 8 hours away from home, ideal. And so, and on the bottom of the page it said, you have to apply here, you have to send your stuff to your congressman or your senator. So I did that. Got invited to the interview with my congressman's staff, and the interview went fine. The staff lady at the end, she goes, "Good job, Cassidy. We'll take it from here." And I even asked her, like, nothing else you need from me? No, we got you. You're all squared away. So fall of the senior year, that was then. Fast forward, spring of the senior year, everybody's finding out about schools, and I was from other places, but nothing from Navy. Couldn't take it any longer. I called the admissions office, and the very helpful lady, she's like, "Oh yeah, sure, tell me your name." I tell her my name. "Tell me your social security number." I tell her my social. "Can you spell your name?" I spell it. "We got nothing on you." Turns out I missed a key piece of intel. Bad on me. Apply to the school and the congressman's office or the senator's. It's like two parallel paths. So I didn't do one whole element, critical element, so effectively I hadn't applied. But here's why I tell the story. Because my best friend and I, a good buddy of mine, we had planned to join his father on a business trip from Maine to Washington, D.C. the next week, which was our spring vacation from school. And so I did that, and I was able to take one afternoon and go over to Annapolis from DC, 30 minutes or so, and went to the admissions office and told the lady. She recognized my story, I recognized her voice, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're in luck, because Marine Corps Captain Malillo, he's the New England region guy, and he's in his office today, right now, and he's free right now, you can go check him out." So I walked down the hall, I enter his office, and I'd never seen a Marine before, and he was poster Marine. Like, holy cow, what have I gotten myself into? Kind of realized in my gut, if I want to go to the United States Naval Academy, have school paid for, and all this stuff, the benefits that I think are ahead of me, I got to tell this guy my story. So I tell him, total time there, 5-6 minutes, and he kind of nodded his head, and he goes, "Okay, I'll get back to you." And I thought that was it. I thought, okay, well, at least I can sleep at night knowing that I gave my best shot, but I'm not going here. And he called me a couple days later. I'm back in school, and it's him. "Hey, I got good news. I can get you into the Naval Academy prep school, but I need an answer on this phone call. If it's not," and his implication was, "I got 15 other people right behind you. If you say no, I'm going to the next number." And I didn't know where the prep school was. Nothing. I didn't even know what it meant. And I said, I just kind of felt that was if this was a door that was open for a nanosecond. And where do you want to be when it closes? "Yes, sir. I'll take it." And the reason, Marty, I share that story when I speak and with you right now is because if it wasn't for the gift of an opportunity, if it wasn't for the gut instincts of that guy, Marine Corps captain, who I didn't know, he didn't know me, I was just a knucklehead from a place, Palookaville, that didn't do the process right, and all these other kids did the process right. If it wasn't for that gift of an opportunity from him, I wouldn't have got to the Naval Prep School, which if you maintain basic grades, you automatically get to Naval Academy, where I met my first SEAL. They had mentors on the staff there. I didn't know what SEALs were. I found myself in the SEAL teams. We met along there somewhere a little bit after that. I met Bill Shepard, who was the first SEAL astronaut.
My first platoon commander.
Your first platoon commander?
Very first one, SEAL Team 2.
And so I met Bill, and I figured out that anybody can apply to be an astronaut, and Mobile selected, it's time and space, and all of that stuff, because one person believed in a young man.
Yeah.
And that is so fundamental to me. Captain Mike Malillo is that person for me.
but also because you had the tenacity. Well, audacity to aim that high and the tenacity to not just say, oh, well, that's the way it goes. Because a lot of people do that, right? And I don't know so much at that point if it was an instinct well-formed or it was the other elements you talked about in your youth. The fact, you were a competitor, so giving up in the game at any point until it's over and you can't do any more doesn't make any sense to a competitor. Yeah, the work ethic you had when you were working, I'm sure, especially if you do anything related to farm stuff, you don't walk away until the job's done.
Right.
So there's a completeness aspect of your personality that was already formed. Yeah, I've got a lot of random stuff. They used to do IQ tests in boot camp up until 1982 or something. So I get pulled out of like the fourth week of boot camp, and there's this officer, and he sits me down, and he offers me the Naval Prep School because of my IQ. And there's this special program, and you want to go. And I started asking questions, and I'm 17 and a half years old. I'm asking questions, and all he keeps doing is, I'm asking questions about how long does that take? Well, then how long does that take? Well, then how long do I have to do that? Well, how long do I... And when it all added up, full commitment, it was like 8.5 years or something, And I'm cleaning toilets with toothbrushes. And that's my version of the Navy right there.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no thanks.
No! I walked out, right? So there's the first one. The second one, when I went to join the Marine Corps, when I was 16 actually at the time, with two other guys that talked me into going in there, I chickened out and went and grabbed the Navy recruiter's business card because they were showing these films of guys going up these slopes of sand, basically with huge backpacks in the back. And I was like 125 pounds. I said, I can't do that. Here's the irony. Through a mistake of orders, I end up at Bud's and eventually carrying a lot more than that backpack.
Yeah.
And I end up becoming an officer. So people ask me, well, why did you decide to become an officer? Why did you decide to become a SEAL? I don't think I did. I don't think I actually did, but I felt like there was something saying, I don't care what you do, what decision you make, dumbass, you're still going to end up there. So it's kind of a weird thing. So when you did you like being in the teams? I mean,
I loved it.
What was your rank when you kind of separated to go into NASA? Or did you go back and forth? Did they have that?
No, I was a lieutenant commander. I'd been in the teams for a year of buds and 10 years of actually wearing a trident. And after kind of getting educated by Shep that it's open to anybody, I thought you had to be a pilot to be an astronaut. And I remember thinking, wow, I got nothing to lose. If I apply and don't get selected, I keep doing a job I really, really like. If I do get selected, how amazing is that? I get the chance to maybe get to go to space. So it's kind of no lose to me other than a couple hours writing an application together.
Yeah. Did he share with you what happened the first time he applied? Why they rejected him?
No.
One leg was like a millimeter shorter than the other leg.
Oh my gosh.
This is like Apollo standards before the shuttle. Opened up a little bit. He was devastated. We didn't know why he was moping around everywhere.
Well, doesn't he mope around all the time?
Well, he's thinking.
Shep, I love you.
He's thinking.
He's thinking.
Yeah, he's thinking all the time. And you'd barge in on him, and he'd be, 99% through redesigning a whole new littoral combat craft for the SEAL teams that he was going to submit to NAVC, which he did, and they rejected it, and it was better than what we ended up getting with the Sea Fox. And I remember when the Sea Fox came out for the trials, I went, whatever happened to Lieutenant Shepard's? That was a cool boat, man. That was the best. But yeah, he took it hard, and I don't know if he immediately reapplied or he heard that the standards for the shuttle mission specialist thing was not as austere as the old Apollo stuff, but then he got in the second time. But man, he was hit hard. I mean, this guy was a genius. Three different ways.
Pretty smart
and they say,
fella.
your leg's too short?
Yeah.
I mean, that's stupid.
Yeah.
So, was it a big transition shock to go from the teams into the NASA environment?
Not the operational stuff. To me, that was very comfortable where you're in a training environment and you're soaking up all the knowledge from the folks that have the experience, and then you're trying to hone your own skills. That very translatable in the hands-on, learn your tradecraft kind of way. The part that was different and a little bit of a challenge for me was in our time, in my early times in the teams, it was very quiet, professional. before SEALs were so prevalent in news cycles and all of that kind of stuff, you didn't really talk that much about it. Your kids' school might know that their dad is in the Navy, and that's
Yeah.
about it. Or maybe they know he's a SEAL. And then when I became an astronaut, one of your collateral duties is to be a public representative of the agency. And we learn all the technical stuff, but then there's training there's 13 NASA centers around the country. We got to know about what happens in each of those so we can help advance the mission, maybe occasionally go to DC and kind of lobby for...
As an ambassador.
As an ambassador, exactly. So that was out of my comfort zone. I was not used to speaking about all this stuff that I did. And I got selected as an astronaut in 2004, and I deployed to Afghanistan twice since 9/11 before that selection. So that wasn't a lot of time that the global war on terror had been active. And so for my first few public appearances as an astronaut, sitting there wearing a blue flight suit, most of the questions I'm getting are about what was it like in Kandahar in October 2001, tell us about that. And so it was a little bit like, I'm a little on edge here about speaking of those. Just ask me about space training.
Right.
So that part took some time getting used to being more of a public representative, but the hands-on, learn your trade craft felt very familiar. Just different instructors. Instead of wearing blue t-shirts and and brown shorts, they were, engineers.
Was it more cerebral? Or
way more cerebral, yeah.
I mean, they yelled at you with more complete sentences.
They yelled at you with X's on all your answers on the paper.
Man, I don't know. I could have never been an astronaut. I was really bad at math. I did well in math from a grade standpoint because I had to spend 10 times the effort on math. The other stuff always came easy, but the math. And then you go to Officers Candidate School, which is like a 4-month shrinkage of the Naval Academy curriculum, and it's 99% naval ship systems and engineering.
Yeah.
So I'm up there, getting called on to go up and draw an M-type boiler and go all the flows, or a D-type boiler, or this turbine or that turbine, and everybody else in the class is a engineering student from college, and I'm the village idiot. Mm-hmm. So then I find myself with a pad of paper every night, drawing all these things because I don't want to get called on.
Yeah.
And I barely made it through all that, and then didn't have to do it ever again. once I graduated, which was great. But I did help a lot of engineers. There were a lot of engineers that weren't used to being yelled at. So when they were getting harassed and yelled at back then by the upperclassmen, now that since then they've brought Marines in. But they weren't used to like holding a copy of the UCMJ out like this while they're doing a Roman chair in the wall. There were some sad boys. So I taught them a little bit about
how to get through
cheat
all
at the back end of the hallway. They can't see. Tuck your arms in. We can't do that. Yes, you can. I can do that. And so there were some redeeming moments with my relationship with the engineers, but they never came to me asking me anything about what was on the test.
No,
never. So you've been in space 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Did all those trips go as planned? The preparation. I mean, I'm in. I've got this mission. Boom, 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 boom. I'm gone. I come back. I was there as long as I was supposed to be in space, or was it? I mean, because my memory of the old space program was you got a cold, boom, you're knocked out of rotation. That was at least what the press would talk about.
Yeah.
So you never knew, whether you were going to make it the whole marathon to the moment of liftoff.
Yeah. So training for a space flight, very analogous in time and cadence to training for a SEAL platoon deployment. You're kind of together for 2 years. The end of that is the mission, 6 months overseas, and my first mission was a 2-week shuttle mission. My second and third missions were also 6 months, just like a deployment. And so the preceding 18 months is all about training your individual self, training as a crew, getting proficient, working together, just like we do in a SEAL platoon workup. And then ultimately you're firing all cylinders and you're good to go and you launch. So I all 3 missions, when I got assigned to the mission and stayed with the crew, stayed healthy and launched launched with the crew. We could go lots of different ways with this particular question, but my last mission, it was not the case with my 2 Russian crewmates. We trained together for a year and a half, and 2 weeks before launch, the commander of our Soyuz, the Soyuz is a 3-person spacecraft, it's small, a Russian guy, he was walking his dog in the woods behind his apartment outside of Moscow, where he walked his dog 50,000 times, and a tree branch poked him in the eye.
Oh, wow.
And severe enough where he couldn't fly 2 weeks later, and the commander of the Soyuz, which is he was, sits in the center, and the left seat of the Soyuz is kind of like the key engineer, and the right seat, which is usually where the American sits, where I was, you have some critical steps, but it's really those two.
Mm-hmm.
And so because those two are a pair, they took both of them out, the commander and the healthy guy, and 2 weeks before launch I got 2 brand new guys that I kind of knew but didn't.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest anomaly from a crew-wise point of view. And then on my second mission, there was a crazy spacewalk. That's a whole other story I can tell you about.
Did you carry a stunt double crew through all that training process? Like if it was an 8-person team or a 4-person team, you had double the number going through the training?
The space shuttle, no. You if an individual had an issue medically or, God forbid, not coming along when training or whatever, that was pretty rare. Not really. It's more like protecting for medical issues. Mm-hmm. They would just pull out from quote-unquote training cell somebody that was healthy and had the experience to fit in that particular slot. That's how shuttle kind of worked. With the Soyuz, the Russian Soyuz, it's a flow and so your backup crew are the crew that's launching 6 months after you do. So they're receiving a lot of the same training. They're not quote unquote a spare tire, but they can advance forward. And that's where, in the case I described, that's what the guys that were 6 months behind us, they just pulled forward those 2 guys.
Which mission was the one where you took the SpaceX aircraft and docked? And
that was my last one in 2020. I was the commander of the space station when the first crewed Dragon capsule came to us.
Yeah. So I was 11 years old in '69. I lived in an army base in Japan, Army brat, and we had about 12 kids at a big slumber party that one of my friend's parents set up because they had a halfway decent TV. Mm-hmm. And we all laid there. I think it happened like 2 or 3 in the morning in Japan and watched the whole, stepping on the moon.
Wow.
And I remember every minute of that. I also remember pretty much everything of when you opened the hatch to let those guys out of that SpaceX craft.
Yeah.
Because I knew you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there with my wife on the couch, and she's like, anything changed yet? Not yet. I was, same thing. I remember we watched that in '69. We watched that thing like, waiting for something to happen for hours. But we didn't want to go to the bathroom or anything because we missed it. Right.
Moment. Yeah.
So I'm sitting on the couch watching your thing, and then you kind of floated in position. And I'm like, how the hell does he fit in that thing?
Yeah.
Because I know how big you are. I'm like, how the hell did you fit in that thing? Was that kind of was it okay because of the weightlessness, or was it?
Well, the weightlessness does afford more use of space than, like, we're just walking here, we've got just the floor. But when you can use the ceiling and the wall, it opens up a lot. So spaces don't feel quite as restrictive, I've found, when you're up there. For example, each person's private crew quarters is about the size, your stateroom, so to speak, is about the size of a refrigerator. Which, when I tell people that, they're like, refrigerator, you spent 6 months in a refrigerator? Well, you've got your bag with your underwear and your socks and your t-shirts are in the ceiling, you got a computer there, you got pictures all around you, and you're not captured in that thing for 6 months. It's where you sleep, but it never felt super constraining. Maybe our SDV background had something to do with that, but
yeah, did a little sleeping in that thing.
Yeah.
Worst thing of an SDV job, mission, whatever, especially the training, winter, Chesapeake, going and dropping somebody off and sitting there as the pilot and navigator with nothing to do while those guys are sneaking across the beach, running around, pretending they're going to do something on a target.
Yeah.
And after about 10 minutes, you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, you said, don't look at my
Wait.
watch. Don't look.
Yeah,
Don't look.
and
Don't
then
look.
you're playing mind games, and then what? 25 minutes into it, you start getting the kind of the early shakes, and
Mhm.
yeah, that was just. It was never a problem driving. It was never a problem when we were moving to the water because your brain's operating. You're in the same condition, same
Yeah.
time and temperature situation.
But your brain's engaged, and you're not
Yeah.
thinking about the misery of sitting there.
I'd even try to game in my mind like I was watching a movie. They'd be here now. They'd be there now. They'd be here now. They'd be there now. And then if they came back early, it was just like, yes!
Yeah.
And then if they didn't come back on time, and there was always a big enough window, like, oh man, they're in the window.
Mhm.
The pinger's not working. They're lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was probably the most miserable I was, other than buds in the cold water. So you mentioned, and kind of skipped right off of that, the spacewalk. So one, because not everybody knows why they do spacewalks. It used to be a demonstration a long time ago, but there's practical reasons for it, from what I understand. And what was yours, and why did you end up going out there?
Yeah, so spacewalks in general are one of the riskier. If you plot risk on the mission over the broad spectrum of a space mission, spacewalks are pretty high up there. Launch is a big one. Re-entry is a big one. Spacewalks are you're out there. You're wearing basically a Gore-Tex jacket that's puffed up to give you an atmosphere inside of it,
Mhm.
and you're susceptible to small micrometeors that could poke a bullet basically that could poke a hole right through that thing, and all the other hazards, to include letting go, and it's quite a bit of effort to get the crew outside. What people don't realize is inside the suit, our bodies are feeling the equivalent altitude of about Mount Everest.
Wow.
So it's 4.3 pounds of pressure above what the ambient pressure is. So outside, zero. So you're basically at the peak of Mount Everest inside the suit, and therefore we breathe pure oxygen. And just like Mount Everest climber, you can't just go from sea level to the top of Everest.
Mhm.
You've got your body
Acclimated,
acclimated to. So we sleep the night before at a lower pressure inside this airlock. We take some 4 hours in the morning of a spacewalk to do this protocol that gets your body denitrogenated and all these things. So it's an effort to get out there. And the particular time where we're talking about the spacewalk with my buddy Luca Parmitano, Italian astronaut, I had done 3 spacewalks before. He had not, so I was designated as lead spacewalker. And
That's a cool title.
yeah, it is a cool title.
Lead spacewalker.
Lead spacewalker and
You
driver
could give-
driver of the
You couldn't get
Winnebago.
him to change the first word to Luke.
Luke
Spacewalker.
Spacewalker. I never thought that's a good one. But because it's so much effort to do a spacewalk, it's kind of like the torpedo room, and when it's all configured for people sleeping, it's
Yeah.
not launching torpedoes. You got to undo all that so it can
okay.
be an operational torpedo room. The airlock is used for other stuff when it's not a spacewalk day, so you got to
Snacks, things
Yeah,
like
you
that.
got you can put your groceries in there. So there's some time involved to get ready for spacewalks. So because of that, we generally do a couple or 3 in sequence to make use of that effort, and so that was the case for Luke and I. And we did the first one of 2, and it went all as planned. We came back in at the end of the day, and he took the helmet off, and he had a bunch of water on top of his head. I'm like, dude, where'd that water come from? Oh, I don't know. I was going to ask you about it. Is that normal? In the repressurization, does condensation happen? I wasn't really sure. Like, no, it's not normal. So we talked to the ground, and between us, and we went through all this troubleshooting, and we have a Camelback inside the spacesuit that's about 30 ounces of water, and he didn't remember drinking it all, and so we kind of all convinced ourselves, the ground specialist, he and I, that water had to have come from the drink bag leaked out, and somehow in the weirdness of 0G,
Yeah.
it got up to his head. Sounds crazy here, sitting in these chairs, but it could happen. And okay, all good. Throughout the week until the next one, we were testing all the systems. Everything's fine, good to go. Now it's the day of the second spacewalk. Again, super diligent with the pre-VA procedures. Everything's normal. We get to go out, and we're about 45 minutes into the spacewalk, and he gets an alarm that says CO2 is high, and we knew all of us knew at NASA that the CO2 sensors inside the suit are very finicky to moisture. Even just breathing hard, your exhaled breath could trip it. And so you flip to the procedure, we have procedures on our wrist. It said, did it go from 0 to ludicrous instantly? It uses NASA words for it, but if so, then
I like that one, though.
then the sensor's bad, and you are
That's a Spaceballs reference.
Yeah, it's a Spaceballs reference.
But it's still in space.
It's still space.
in
So
the context.
the procedure says you are your own CO2 sensor. Continue the mission and just be cognizant of symptoms. Okay, got it. So we keep on going. 5 minutes later, Luca says, "Hey, you guys remember that water we had last week? I got it again. They're zinging all around." And I come up to him. It looked like a half of a softball or a jiggly ball of Jello just wiggling on top of his head. And this is where kind of the gut instincts part of the conversation comes into play. Because I remember before that, I was thinking to myself, before I floated close enough where I could see, I was thinking, well, we're 30 minutes ahead of the timeline. The conservative guys, engineers and mission control, are going to hem and haw and talk about it. They're going to use up some of our 30 minutes of ahead time, and then they're going to tell us to continue, but okay, it's all good. I kind of had this aw shucks, stupid mission control mindset. Yeah. And then I saw the water, and at the same time, he grabbed one of the balls in his mouth, and it was super cold. He said, "Wow, it tastes nasty and it's super cold." So the only cold water is in the back, the technical water in the backpack, because the Camelback on your chest is body temperature, sweat body temperature, urine, God forbid, body temperature. So the only way is this technical water, which shouldn't be in your helmet.
And that's part of the oxygen system?
It's part of the cooling system, and it has, this is way more detailed, but there's one pump, there's one motor that spins, and the shaft drives the pump that moves the air, and the other end of the shaft drives the pump that moves the water.
Gotcha.
And so they're close in proximity to water and the air, but they shouldn't cross. And so right when I saw the water, he said it's cold, my mindset went, and I think his too, and the grounds, went from, oh shucks, they're going to use up our 30 minutes, to this isn't so good right now, we need to be done. And Mission Control agreed. They said, okay, Luca, you head back. Chris, you clean up the stuff where you are. And this is a Bud's reference, because I remember as he disappeared around the backside of the space station to go back, they said, you go first, Luca. You head back, get a head start. This feeling of a Bud's instructor yelling at me like, don't ever leave your swim buddy.
Yeah.
Don't leave your swim buddy, whatever you do. And I had that feeling. And I wanted to say, stop, Luca, I'm coming with you. But the tethers are strung out and they're over rotating equipment. If you leave one tether out, it's an impact to this. Sure. So I knew all this, and I'm like, it'll be fine. I'll hurry up and get back, and I'll find him back there. But I just had this Bud's instructor yelling at me like, you are a screwed up, guy, Ensign Cassidy, get with your swim buddy, kind of feeling. It ended up, I remember thinking, well, if he's not back there when I get there, I'll just trace his tether up the other side and I'll find him. He got back there, miraculous use of his own situational awareness. The tether has about a 3-pound pull, and once he started to move, that jiggly ball of water swished around his eyes, his ears, his nose. He couldn't hear, he couldn't talk, he couldn't see, but he had the wits about him to just wait, and he kind of felt the tug of the tether, and he put his hand in that direction and then did that.
Worked his way down.
Iterated that till he got back. And right as he got back, I did. And I remember thinking, the only thing that matters right now is closing this hatch. If we can't close the hatch, we can't move air. If we can't move air, we can't get the helmet off. If we can't get the helmet off, he drowns. So nothing matters in the whole universe right now except getting a good hatch seal. And that was kind of my mindset. And Luca got himself back. He saved his own self. I closed the hatch, and then we were just we didn't pre-brief it or anything, but I grabbed his hand, and we were giving squeezes back and forth, and I knew he was fine, but we were ready to, kind of like on a submarine, you can repressurize with one giant slam of air, but everybody's eardrums are dead.
Yeah.
And we could do that same thing on the airlock. Our crewmate Karen was on the other side. I was just waiting to say, Karen, open the valve. and we would instantly got to reasonable pressure, but we would have paid the man for
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, it worked out. A couple of key moments in time where the communication between all three people, the remote site, ground, the two of us, and kind of all at the same time, this aha moment of this is kind of inconvenient to holy crap, this is not good. And where in the series of sequences was the system telling us, barking at us, and we were ignoring the system symptoms that it was wrong. Like last week we had water, we couldn't explain it.
Yeah.
Early on we had a CO2 sensor that was pesky, and then all of a sudden it goes from annoying to critical.
Wow. Did you have any similar kind of moments when you were in combat? I mean, did you ever... Because combat's, you train for it, and space has a lot of threats and all that, but my experience in combat is it's like they prepare you to go in and play football, but when you show up on the field, you might have hockey guys coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know exactly how the other side's going to react or how they're going to act or what they're going to do or not going to do. You've gamed it out. You've trained, like we always did in the SEAL teams. You train against, Rocky. You're going to fight the smartest super genius in the universe and the toughest, most badass fighter in the universe, and you train for that fight, right? And then you get in the ring, and a lot of the times it's like, well, this was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Except for the day that
When
the
it's
hockey
not.
guys come at you.
Yeah.
Where do those guys come from? Or what are they,
Yeah.
Did you have moments like that? Or a moment that...
Yeah, a couple. Time is an interesting thing, I think, in combat, right? It can shrink and expand, and if somebody says, hey, how much time was that? And you say, oh, it's up 6-7 minutes elapsed, and
Yeah,
it's
like-
30,
Yeah.
or it's 1. It could be any way, because time, I felt, was always interesting. But there were a couple things about combat that stood out to me. One wasn't the combat part, but it was the long flight in a gray aircraft over the ocean, getting up to pee, and I was platoon commander going into Afghanistan. This was like end of September of '01. We're going right into it, and walking around, and there's guys sleeping, there's guys reading, there's guys listening to his headphones, and it struck me at that moment, that weird moment. Nobody's shooting at us.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow! My good or stupid decisions affect these guys' lives and all the wives and girlfriends back home and the moms and dad back home. And this onus of leadership hit me over the ocean with little red lights around the aircraft as I'm walking to go to
Yeah.
the urinal. And that was a big moment for me.
Because it's not a bad training score anymore.
Yeah, it's not a bad
Yeah.
training. Exactly. It's real.
Yeah.
And it's game on. And you are the dumbass that has the onus to make those decisions. And your chief and all
Yeah.
LPO, and it's team effort. But ultimately the leader has to be the leader.
The scary part about that, and a friend of mine, Larry Barrett, who was in Grenada, and he was in the training cell at SEAL Team 4, and I had a junior officer who was having a difficult time listening to the enlisted guys,
Mm-hmm.
listening to the point man on a night patrol, just overruling them and then walking right into an ambush. It's like, told you.
See ya.
And so he tells a story about in Grenada, and he said, I was a former Marine, became a SEAL. I never had anything good to say about officers. I didn't think we needed them. The Army and the Marine Corps got away with no officers in Vietnam, small units. And then all of a sudden there's 21 of us pinned down, armored vehicles, stitching up, people are getting hit all over the place. And you know what happened in that moment, sir? And he goes, what? He said, 20 heads turned and looked right at Lieutenant Erskine and said, do what you're paid to do. Make a call. That's when I realized what officers were for. All my attitude, ego, and all this stuff I was walking around like, we don't need... All of us were paid to do what we were paid to do. There's only one person that was paid to do that.
Mm-hmm.
To tell us to get up, get down, go left, go right, whatever. And that was the moment he was going to earn his pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a similar thing to what you were talking about, but not in the very beginning. It was about 7 missions into 36 missions when I got this. It felt like a premonition at the time, but everything was clicking. And I'd been with that group for 2 platoon deployments at SEAL Team 4. I did a double, I did 4 years there. So we were like, kids who played pickup basketball since we were little.
Mm-hmm.
And I all of a sudden got this weird feeling, well, if the first 7 went so well, it was almost like a Memphis Belle thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the mission. This is the mission where I'm going to do something stupid, make the wrong call, bake something into the plan that's going to cause a problem. And for about 2 missions in a row, I really had a hard time shaking it off, like before getting on a helicopter or something, because I started second guessing the plan. I started second guessing everything I was saying on the way to the helicopter. If somebody walked up and said, "Hey, do you want to do this? Hey, you want to do that? You want to swap this out?" And then it was over. And then it came back around the 12th or 13th mission. Same thing. And it felt less like a premonition that time. It felt like I was just getting burned out, And then I got lost really bad. I got all of us lost. This is before GPS was rock solid.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought us full circle through a swamp, and we had to take this top intelligence officer who was in a little farm compound, and everybody in the world was watching. There was like 82nd Airborne was like, I guess 6 miles away, hiding, a big long vehicle convoy. There was helicopter. Everybody's all ready, right? At 5 o'clock in the morning, we were supposed to hit that target, grab this guy, and they'd come swooping in and do their intel search for all whatever they want to look for, and everything, grab him. And so it's like the whole world's watching, and I went full circle back to the ocean in the swamp.
Oh.
After 6-7 hours walking through mud up to here, climbing over these huge like banyan tree roots. It was the worst obstacle course in the world, and we were all covered in mud and everything. And my Chief Bearworth, walks up to me, and he said, "Hey, get your head out of your ass. Decide what we're going to do." And immediately, I'm thinking about Larry Barrett's that comment that he made at Grenada.
Oh yeah.
And they were all looking at me. They're like, "Okay, so you brought us here. How are we going to fix this?"
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And we pulled like a training thing where I said, "Well, there was a dirt road off to the left. If it continues inland, we'll go as far as we can and see if we can get near the compound." And a fog dropped, and we were running. I had like two 60 gunners up as a kind of a stretch point, and we were running like we were late for an ORI. We're running, and we ran for about an hour and a half, and with the mud on us and everything. And then all of a sudden we all stopped because the point guy stopped.
There's the compound.
One of them came back and he said, "White picket fence, right side," and it was it. And I looked at my watch, and it was 3 minutes to when execute time was. So I told him, send the code word out, everybody deploy, and when I say go, everybody's gonna start moving in. And when they showed up, they thought it was a typical SEAL mission, man, smooth as ice, smooth silk. You guys are in, you grab the guy. You guys want to ride back on the helicopter anyway? No, because we tied our boats in the middle of the swamp when we got lost, and we got to go back in the swamp. And we did. And now one guy said one thing to me. You know how team guys will rip each other all the time? Nobody ever said, "Why did you do that?" Or, you realize after that whole op and all that stuff, we had to go into the swamp again for another 3 hours to find our boats. And I thought, well, these guys were kind of leading anyway by that point, and I was getting too much in my own head.
Yeah.
Put too much on myself for sure, but I was also, they were trained by other people, they were trained by me, I knew them, they knew me, kind of like your systems discussion, I started second guessing all that, and I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I should have just, but I'm human, and I reacted that way.
Yeah, interesting.
Man, this has been great.
Yeah.
I hope we can do this some other time. I mean, Instincts, we'll bring guests back, and I'd like to talk more about a lot of your experiences.
Happy to, yeah, because what's cool about the military journey, doesn't matter it's 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, those paths, all of our paths are different, but the commonality is riddled with friendships and riddled with experiences that are translatable to all aspects of life.
Yeah,
And so it's so fun to
absolutely.
explore all those with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, buddy.
Been great.
Yep.